Hey YouTube, welcome back to Universe X, and today we've got the third and final deck profile from the Virginia Beach case tournament that happened 2 weeks back. And 2 weeks back? It's close to that. It was the Sunday, it was pretty much the Sunday before the ban list. But this is kind of still crazy because each of the decks that I've featured so far have kind of proven something. Majin Buu topped in a format where people thought it had no business even seeing top tables. The King Vegeta list that I just put out earlier this week, it showcased a mid-range King Vegeta list where people thought the aggro was the only way to survive, and he, by the way, crushed 2 of the aggro lists, if I'm not mistaken, to get to his top spot. This one will be going over Blue Black Soul Striker. All 3 of these guys are great players, personal friends, test buddies. Definitely am proud to see them just body an event together collectively. So right before we get into it, just wanted to point out the normal things. If you haven't been to the Facebook group, try checking it out. Also, try checking out the official Facebook group for it. The links to the community group and the official group will be in the description. I also have my own Facebook group. I tend to post there every now and then. Sometimes I'll put questions there, and I'll put the questions in my video. So if you want to be a little more interactive, think about hitting it up. And yeah, I go live every week I can on Thursdays. I'll put up an announcement if I can't, but we got a lot of stuff going on. Last thing I just want to say, if you haven't already, I have a side channel. That's UniXDB. That's going to be where I put my Dragon Ball gaming, such as Dragon Ball Dokkan Battle if you play it, Dragon Ball Legends if you play it. I might start actually streaming Dragon Ball Kakarot. I know it's really late, but better late than never. And I'll put little clips of that on the channel too. So just go over. The link of that will be in the description as well. Just branching out all things Dragon Ball. So, without further ado, if you like the content, think about hitting the subscribe button, think about liking it, comment on it, and we're going to jump into a very in-depth deck profile. See you there. Alrighty then, so we are now into the deck profile part, and first and foremost, I'm going to have my friend introduce himself, tell you a little bit about himself, because I think this is the first time he's actually been on the channel like this, and after that we will move into the deck list, how the matches went, and his overall thoughts on it. So, introduce yourself, sir.
What's going on, everybody? A lot of people know me already, but Daryl Donaldson. I'm up here in the DMV with Chris and all the well-known DBS players. I've been playing the game since set 3. I've had a pretty good amount of tops recently. Topped the first Otakon event along with Chris. He got top 8, I got top 16, or top 7, I got 17th, but yeah, I'm known for blue decks, but I dabble in everything, so yeah.
He owns everything. That's the ability to dabble.
This is true. But yeah, did pretty well down at the Virginia Beach. Ended up having to play 2 of my teammates during the event. But overall pretty good, made top 8, so can't complain.
Alrighty. And what deck did you take to this case tournament?
So I took my handy Soul Striker reboot. I've been playing this leader since it was first came out. I was actually the first person to top a big event with it. Granted, it was during COVID, so it's a big case event or 1K up in New Jersey. Played a mono blue version, made top 8 up there, made top 4 actually. But yeah, just came back to my boy Soul Striker for this event. Just because some of the new cards from set 14 just was like, you know what, that would probably be really fire in Soul Striker, so decided to come back to Soul Striker.
Sweet. And I saw a TCGMetalZ metal leader over there along with it.
Oh yeah, this junk, I had to get it. When I saw it on, when he posted it on the TCG auction player page, I was like, oh man, I gotta buy that. And of course, I bought it for 75, but then they were on sale for 30 something bucks. But who knew at the time?
Nobody. Absolutely nobody. So I'm actually super psyched to see the stuff that makes this one different. Like you said, Daryl's been playing blue forever, so generally I know that when I need to get insight on what cards are trending in blue, or even have like just good testing against blue, he's the go-to guy for me in my area, because he's always hip on trying to innovate how the blue deck plays, and generally down to try out any new card that looks like it could be an asset. So you guys are about to be in for a really nice treat if you're a Soul Striker fan, or if you just want to know what you might be getting beat over the head with in the next format.
Well, cool. We can get into the deck list real quick. Let me just adjust my camera. So it looks like there's a glare, but I'll fix that. So shout out to my team first. Foremost, just got my custom sleeves from Dragon Shield. So if you're looking for custom sleeves, hey, they came in pretty quick and they're definitely very good quality. So yeah, but anyway, we'll get into what we were here for. Everybody already knows what Soul Striker does at this point. On the front side, just swing, either draw a card, untap one of your mono blue energy, awaken either at 4 life, or if you have a unison with specified cost of 3. On the back side, when you swing, you draw a card and untap 2 mono blue energy. And then the last part is you can untap one of your unisons at the end of your turn, which is actually really good when you play certain unisons. All right, so we'll start with the super combo lineup. Played 2 Zeno and 2 Vegetas. Zeno allows you to make a lot of really questionable plays, like tapping out even after you swung with like your leader. So it allows you to basically pick up an energy if you're at 5 or less life and replace it with an untapped energy. So you can pick up a card that you need in that scenario, and then charge a blue, and then Sensu Bean, Dimension Magic for the next attack or whatever. Allows you to make extended plays when you're tapped out. Vegeta, just in certain matchups you need to draw power, especially against like hand control decks or those aggressive decks. So you need cards to be able to replace your hand. You can't just, like, especially if you're playing against like decks like King Vegeta that were pressuring you down, and then you had to survive but also apply pressure on the backhand. Cards like Vegeta allow you to do that by drawing extra cards during the combo step. And then what makes the deck is definitely the 3-drop unison, because if not, you have to wait till you're 4 or less life to awaken. So with this deck, you have the option to flex on which 3-drop unison you're going to play. If you're in a very aggressive meta, you probably want to play this Raditz. So if you don't know what this Raditz does, specified cost 3 blue. The auto on it is when this card activates blocker, you can restand it. So you basically get to block twice in the turn if the first attack doesn't kill it. The +0 is draw a card at the end of the turn, switch this card to active mode, and then the -2 is choose one of your opponent's battle cards with cost of 4. Energy cost of 4 or less, return it to the owner's hand, and then at the end of your turn, you restand a mono blue energy. You rarely use the -2 on this card just because you're returning it to the hand, so it's like not that great. But I have used it in certain scenarios to just reset the board to make my opponent have to play that card again, and invest more energy, because you're all about tempo, and in most Soul Striker builds, you're all about tempo. So setting your opponent behind while you continue to advance your board state is the game plan. But like I said, there's all kinds of different unisons at 3 you can play. I've messed around with the new Tapion unison in a more aggressive Soul Striker version. The old baby unison is always a good one as well if you're going the route of the new boost mechanics.
Spirit boost.
You can't play blue if you're not playing the new blue unison. This card is just like insane. Like I've seen people talking about it needs to be banned. It doesn't need to be banned. It's annoying, but you can definitely play through it. So it's a double strike blocker, 20k. Activate main is plus 0 on the activate main is draw a card. And then at the start of your opponent's main phase, you untap it and a mono blue, or is it a mono blue? Yeah, mono blue energy. And then you can only do that if your leader's mono blue. If your leader's not blue, you can't restand it, but you can still do the plus. And then what makes this card really good is the -1. So when your opponent attacks with a battle card, you can -1 and bottom deck one of their battle cards. So you can swing with this card on your turn, your leader untaps it, and then now you have, not only did you restand it and another energy, you now have a 20k blocker that can also bottom deck a battle card. So now you've siphoned two swings on your opponent's board. And like I said, you're a tempo deck. So now you're setting your opponent behind because they can't touch you. And a lot of times they can't touch your unison because you're -1ing on it. So you play 2 of these. You don't want to go too heavy on the unison because you do need battle cards. And like when you start to play more non-battle cards, then you draw those and not have enough combo power, especially in an aggressive format. Then you get into your standard blue package, which is the Bojack Engine. So Galactic Buster, I played at 3. You don't want this card at 4 because, like I said, you don't want to draw. You can only play once per turn. So if you don't know what it does, basically you can combo with a mono blue card with that specified combo cost of 1 in your energy. You can combo for free and then put this card in your energy if it's your opponent's turn. If it's not your opponent's turn, it goes to the drop. But basically, you draw a card, you combo with a Bojack, and then you can pay the auto on those once at the end of the battle. So for the 4-drop, this one, you play it at the end of the battle, you pay a colorless and a blue. It plays itself and then it bottom decks any battle card without barrier. And it's a 20k dual attack. The big boy, you have to pay 4 at the end of battle, which is 3 colors and a blue, and you play it in rest mode. So this is an auto. It is not a in-play auto. It's part of the auto as it comes out of your drop. So if your opponent God Ceilings or somehow does any other counterplay, puts it back in your hand, put it at the bottom of the deck, whichever, the auto still resolves because it's not a come into play auto. So a lot of people don't actually realize that and miss the resolving the entire card because they thought it didn't resolve. So if you're going to play this deck, make sure you know that because it does come into play a lot of times. People don't realize. But yeah, if you're playing blue, you're typically playing this package. You can mess around with the numbers. I was playing 3 of this card because this card is really good. And the second auto on this card is when it's in rest mode, if your opponent attacks with a battle card, you get to tap one of their energy and restand one of your blue energy. So again, it's tempoing. So if they attack incorrectly, you get to tap their energy before they get to use it. And then you have your standard blue cards. 4 dimension magic, again for those aggressive matches, stuff from dying. You got 4 sensu beans, same thing. You either get to use it on offense to extend your plays or use it on defense to try to stifle your opponent from killing you or allowing them to get the free damage in with the chip shots. Then you have 2 chilled army reinforcements. Again, I was expecting a bunch of aggressive decks for the event. So I was thinking King Gogeta, all these different decks. So I wanted to make sure I had enough defense to keep myself alive to be able to make my plays and do my strategy. So basically counter the attack, play a 10k blocker, and you basically stop 2 attacks that turn with just 1 card. So that card was super clutch that day. Then 2 heroic prospects. This card, has went from being like really good to being mediocre. Dark Broly isn't played as much anymore, and there's not a lot of decks that it really affected, especially like if you're expecting a lot of King Vegeta or like King Cold, stuff like that, or even like the blue mirrors. Like it doesn't really do a lot. So like I didn't want to have a dead card in my hand or anything like that. So I just cut it down to 2. It did all right. A lot of times I felt like I didn't need it, so I ended up siding it out. 3 heroic prospects. You can't play blue if you're not playing this card. Like even if it's not that great in the meta, you still play it. If anything, it's 5k combo or charge. But this allows you to set your opponent back from when they're tapping a bunch of energy to play their bomb if they can't get your unison off board. So essentially, it just allows you to control the game. So that's what you're trying to do. Trying to control the game until you can win. Baby Hatch. I mean, it's self-explanatory. You can choose back and forth between like what secret rare you want to play, but like in an aggressive format, like this is the best secret rare especially for blue. You can play Supreme Kai or heroic lineage, but like this basically stops turns outright. And back in the day, like when this first was spoiled, I thought it was like mediocre. I wanted a better blue secret rare, like to finish games and stuff, but like giving you an extra turn essentially lets you finish the game. Yeah, basically stabilizer. Like there's so many games where I just played that card and I'm like, all right, well now I can actually probably close this game out the next turn or whatnot. So, or clear their board before they got to do whatever they wanted to do. You got the 4/8. This is just important to keep your hand advantage up. Hand advantage is super important in this game, especially when it comes to combo and stuff like that. So like I've seen people fluctuate between, 3, 2, 4. For me in Soul Striker, it's always 4. Like this card is just absurd. Like essentially you basically get to tap 2, remove it from your drop basically for free, because your leader untaps 2 every time it swings. So, and usually on turn 2, if you're not dying, you can tap out to remove this on turn 2, and now you're at like 10 plus cards in hand. Played the 1 of Champa. This is just to help close out games. Sometimes Soul Striker can, be a little slow at closing out games. So I played the 1 Champa, and this also helps you get rid of the opposing blue unison. A lot of times they'll let 1 or 2 attacks through, and then they let that one last attack through, and you're just like, all right, double strike, gotcha. Get the unison off board. It can be a pesky unison to get rid of. Then you get into the set 14. So I brought these in because it's basically a 1 blue to play this card. When you have 3 more energy in play, it replaces itself, so it draws a card, and it's a 15k blocker. The second activate main doesn't work in this deck because you have to have a Trunks future leader, or youth leader, sorry. But essentially it's a 15k blocker, or you can be aggressive with it. So if you're trying to apply pressure, you get to play it for 1, draw a card, replace it, swing 15. And it actually played out pretty well throughout the event for me, so I'm actually glad I played that. Another one of is the Golden 8. This is for your blue matches, any counter heavy deck. So like if you're playing against Baby and they go Baby Hatch, or they tap out to play the Vegeta negate blocker, you're just like, nah, I'm gonna counter that, and now I'm going in for game. Like you basically apply that pressure and close out games a lot faster than you would.
It's all fun and games when you think the worst you can get is Godsend when they hit you with a freaking monkey.
Right. So now we'll get into the engine that made me want to play this version of the deck. So looking at set 14, I'm like, man, there's a lot of like, decent stuff. There's not like anything broken, but I'm looking at these black cards and I'm like, man, some of these black cards are actually pretty fire. So I was like, what deck can I play them in that's generic, or where it doesn't force me into a specific black leader or anything like that? And then anytime I get into that scenario, I'm like, can I play it in Soul Striker? And the answer was yes, I can play these cards in Soul Striker.
And they get a ban, stop it.
So the first card is the new Haze Shenron, Negative Energy Explosion. So the first auto is irrelevant because I'm not playing the new Shenron leader or Shadow Dragon leader, and so it's a crit blocker. But the second auto that matters is when this card attacks, I can choose one of my opponent's battle cards and send it to the warp, and then at the end of turn, this card restands. So not only am I applying pressure by swinging with a 15k crit, it warps one of my opponent's battle cards and then restands at the end of the turn. So now I have an additional blocker. So if I have my Unisons out, or one of my Unisons out, not only do I get to apply pressure with it, swinging 19k, restands at the end of the turn, I get to swing with a 15k crit, untap it at the end of the turn. Now I have 2 blockers, or essentially 3 blockers, because this blocks twice if they can't get rid of it. And this is removing battle cards that Soul Striker typically can't remove on its own without playing like Bojack. It actually cost me 1 energy to play once I'm awakened. This card was like insane.
There was a little weird skip. You were saying 1 energy for Bojack?
Oh no, and so you get to play this essentially for 1 energy when you're awakened.
Okay, yeah, that's true. That makes sense.
Right, so like you tap 3, swing with it, swing with your leader, and then like you're just like making so many crazy plays. Like in 1 turn, I played 2 of these at the event. Like I'm just like, all right, swing 15k, warp your dude, swing leader 15k, untap 2 energy, have 4 energy untap, swing, play another one, swing, like clearing boards. Like Soul Striker didn't have that kind of capability before set 14. And this card just added so much more flexibility to the deck, especially because it's offensive and defensive at the same time because of it restands itself. And it's funny, a lot of people had to pick it up and read it because they're like, what does this card even do? I'm like, well, it's about to ruin your day. Especially those decks that play one or 2 battle cards, at a time. Like you're just, like I said, you're a tempo deck, so you're trying to like shut them down and keep them on the back burner. So you're applying pressure, stabilizing the game, and then they're having to play catch up. I was expecting a lot of King Vegeta or low to the ground decks. So my 2 overround of choice were Secret Identity Mass Saiyan. Self-explanatory. It warps up to a total of 6. So hitting 4 costs and 2 costs, a bunch of 1 drops, or even tokens. He came in clutch all day too as well. And then the big package for me that really made me want to play this deck was the Gogeta Engine. And like, I probably would not have topped if I did not play this engine. So essentially I played a 4-4 split between the Goku and Vegetas, and then I played 3 of the Big Daddy. So if you don't know what this guy does, he is a triple attack blocker, permanent. If this card is in rest mode, it can't be KO'd by your opponent's skills. And then auto once per turn when this card attacks, your opponent chooses 2 battle cards or 2 cards in their hand and sends them to the warp, and 2 of their battle cards and sends them to the warp. And then at the end of the turn, it restands. So not only do I get to rip 4 cards total from my opponent, 2 battle cards and 2 cards from their hand, I also get 3 swings with this card, and at the end of the turn, it restands. So just imagine like you have your Unison out, you get, you have one of these out as well. You have, that's what, 5 attacks in 1 turn just from these 3 cards, not including your leader. And then at the end of the turn, all 3 of these restand. Now you have a total of 4 blocks on your turn and X amount of negates that you have in your hand. It is very hard for you to dive through the defense that this deck has. But to play this card in this deck, you have to pay 4 energy, doesn't matter what color they are. Either remove a Goku and Vegeta from your battlefield and or drop. So essentially in this deck, you just combo with the Goku and Vegeta and then pay 4, play this guy, and then you go to town. I had 2 of these out in 1 game. Obviously that game was closed out very easily. But like I said, when I saw this card, I was like, what deck can I play this in and capitalize better than any other deck? And then I came to the conclusion of Soul Striker. Like, I get to play this guy for 2 essentially. So on turn 4, I can play this guy, swing with him, swing with my leader, untap 2 energy. I'm back at 2 energy. This guy, a 35k triple attack, cost me 2 energy to play essentially, and literally closed out games every time I played him. I didn't lose any games that I played this card. But that is the main deck. I don't have the side deck together. Side decks I usually don't really go over side decks too much. They vary. And you base them off whatever your meta is. So if you're playing at locals, you're basically playing build your side deck for whatever you think the meta is going to be in your area. So if it's control, put more counter apes in your sideboard, any kind of hand destruction, anything like that. If it's more aggressive, put more defensive cards in your sideboard. But yeah, that's the deck profile. So it was a 4-round event. So like I said, I did end up playing 2 of my teammates during this event. Round 1 was my teammate Nick Green, who actually ended up winning the event. He was playing the King Vegeta mid-range, which you'll see that deck profile soon. We played anyway. So I already had my invite. I won the last regional event there at Comet Kings. So regardless, I would have gave him the win, but we played it out anyway to see like who would actually win. We went to game 3. Game 3, my hand was pretty terrible. I drew pretty much all my unisons, and this is kind of where I got at, like, you don't want to play more than 6 unisons, but even with 6, I drew into like 5 of them playing against King Vegeta. Even though he's playing the slower version, it's still pretty aggressive, and he just like pretty much destroyed me. Picked my hand apart because of the Broly, 1-drop Broly. Took my super combos and pretty much left me defenseless. But typically in that match, like, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be, just because of all the defense I have in the deck. And then you drop this guy, and if they don't have a unison out, or if they don't have enough to get 35k and kill this card when you play it, you pretty much get to clear their board and then like stabilize. So the King Vegeta match wasn't that bad. Like I said, he did actually end up beating me, but it was a close game. If I actually had a better hand, I probably could have won that match. But like I said, teammate needed an invite, so I probably would have scooped to him anyway. The next round I played against Baby. Baby's always a rough match for the blue decks, and that's why you want to play the 8 main deck. So game 1 went super long. Like, it was pretty back and forth for a while. Like, my opponent, he was kind of telegraphing that he had certain cards in his hand, so I was able to play around that. Like, I knew he had the Fu in his hand, so I was playing around it. And then I tried to fool him myself, but I couldn't get rid of his units, and he just God-sealing me, which was all right. I was just trying to close out the game if I could, but it is what it is. The Baby match is not the easiest. Game 2, I kind of switched gears. So instead of using like the defensive package, I sided into the more aggressive stuff. So I put in the boonies. On turn 2, when my opponent swung at me, like, I'm putting Bojack 4-drop into play. So I got him down to like 3 life on my like turn 3. Just by getting out the Boonie, getting out, not Boonie, but Bojack getting out this guy, my unison, and my leader swing. I was just applying pressure, and I was able to close out that game. And then we only had like 5 minutes left on the clock when we were starting game 3, so we ended up drawing that match. And then the next round, I played against the new Universe 7 Gohan deck. This match was like super easy. Game 1, like, I literally just kept killing all his battle cards, and then he would play a unison, and then I would just play the Gogeta, swing at the Unison, rip 2 cards from his hand, 2 battle cards, kill the Unison. He untap, play another Unison. I would swing this guy again at the Unison, rip 2 more cards, 2 more battle cards, and then just playing multiple of those, and it's just like my hand, I'm having like 14, 16 cards in hand at this point, and just like he couldn't really close out the game because he just didn't have a board. And since I'm swinging at his Unison, he's not getting any cards. He's just losing 2 cards every time I swing. So his deck couldn't keep up card advantage.
I think I just got like sick. Who was playing that?
Honestly, I don't remember his name. Real cool dude. But he played it well. It's just
I just started playing Unison over and over again. I was like, dog, he's just trying to like give you something to swing at, like just body his entire life.
Yeah, and he would play Unison, but also play battle cards. So it was like he would play the 4-drop Goku, and I'm just like, all right, cool. I'm gonna live through it, negate, play the chilled armies, reinforcements, negate the first swing, block the second swing. So like it was just, yeah, it was just like my deck did what it was supposed to. And then, but like I said, he played it well. It's just like my deck was designed to be like stabilize games and kill the mid-range decks, especially ones that can't reliably remove battle cards from the field. And then in the last round, I had to play my other teammate that rode down with us. I had to play Zach. He's playing the reboot Mecha Frieza. I won that match. We kind of just played for fun. Since we're on the same team or whatever, it didn't really matter who won, but we played for fun, and like the games weren't even close. Like I got Gogeta out, like, and yellow can't kill this card. So literally just kept playing Gogetas over and over, the multiple blockers, like, and they can kind of play around a lot of that stuff because they get to tap stuff with their leader. So like you don't get to be as defensive, but you're offensive. You still do your game plan. You always swing with this card first because you don't want it to get tapped. You don't want it to get bounced in any match that you're playing against. So you always swing with this card first. But yeah, so those were like my matches. None of them felt close except for the King Vegeta match. And then obviously Baby, like I said, that's your uphill battle match. But with the change in the meta, like I felt like almost every Soul Striker deck is probably going to be tier 1 or higher. The deck's just like insane. The leader, and depending on what strategy you're trying to play, but the black package in this deck was just like nuts. And I even, like, after the event, now I'm thinking about putting in the new Oceanus black negate that makes your opponent mill 4 if they swing through. It's like the reverse topo. Instead of it being your hand, you mill 4 cards. And it's a blocker. So like you're stifling 2 more attacks. So like, yeah. But I enjoy the deck. Like, if this is like your play style, like I would definitely give it a try. I know a lot of people were asking me for the list, but I held out to get my boy, get it on his channel and stuff. So,
hey.
But yeah, if you're definitely looking for a different style of Soul Striker to play, like I would definitely give it a run. You can obviously change cards how you want. I was talking about the Son Goku and Vegeta Junior Black Unison. So like I was thinking playing that at like a 1 or 2 of, because it helps you get out your skill list. Your skill is 2, so like 1 Goku and 1 Vegeta, so like you don't have to rely on drawing them. Because there was like 1 or 2 games where like I would have like the Vegeta or the Son Goku, so I had to like wait a turn or 2 to find either of them. So like that card you could play like Soul Striker. You don't have a lot of plays on turn 1 or 2, so like you could play that card on 1 or 2, -1, go get the 2 skill list, and now you have those for combo power, or you can swing with them, and then that allows you to make sure that you have the units, the battle cards required to play a Gogeta. But if you do that, then you need to cut probably like the Boo Unison, because now you would put yourself at like 8 Unisons. And then you can also, I started with the 6-drop Gogeta, the Thwarting the Dark Empire, whatever his name is. But like, you have to charge black for that one. So this version, I didn't want to charge black. I want to make sure like on turn 3, I'm hitting my unison. I have the 3 blue to play the unison. So um, if you decide to go that route, like especially with the new anniversary box coming out, like this deck gets another boost because now I can charge a blue black, and now I have that black energy, but I also have the blue energy to play my unison on turn.
Yeah, I'm like actually looking at this, and it's kind of from how I feel as Soul Striker, you've got all the tools to be energy efficient, and you have all the defense of blue. But the one thing that is kind of interesting is that like blue, when it comes to finishers, blue has always been in a weird space because blue has the ability to ramp in some cases, blue has the ability to untap energy. So I feel like Bandai has been a little hesitant to give blue some absolutely game-ending top ends. And so in this particular list, Daryl just plucked black's devastating top ends, and you actually can play them and protect them better than you could ever in black. It's like the dude has immunity to being KO'd, and once per turn, when you're playing a card that could warp it or something, you can get God Sealing. And then if you can't stop the first Gogeta, the second one is even worse, and at that point you're just getting taxed 8 cards a turn max, but likely just 4 from your hand and 1 or 2 off your battlefield, and plus the Haitian run. This like really quickly shifts from normal blue into just absolute like board and hand control if you can't assess, or if you can mess with those Gogetas once they hit board. So I dig it.
Right. And another thing about this card, like the removal of battle cards also ignores barrier. So like nothing has protection against this card. So like unless their card says like can't be removed by skill, so like they can choose that card and it won't be removed. But like you literally just ignore most of their battle cards. You don't even have to attack because you just swing, get rid of 2 battle cards, and now you have 3 swings. If you get more than one of these out, you have 6 swings on their leader. This card is 35k. They may out combo one, maybe the second, but they're not going to out combo this card 6 times if you have more than one. So yeah, like Chris said, like this set gave you so many more tools to be able to apply pressure but also be defensive. And like that's what blue needed. Blue was like always, oh, I can be defensive and then I'll slowly grind you out. Now on turn 4, I get to drop this bomb, be defensive, and grind you out at the same time. And like I said, like having multiple blocks on one turn is just like insane. Like, and then like still having energy up to negate or do whatever else you need to do, like to protect yourself or your battle cards. So, yeah.
Definitely dig it.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So yeah, that was the deck profile. I hope you guys, you fans of blue, or even if you were just thinking about getting into the blue, enjoyed this. There's just a lot of insight. I like the thicker deck profile videos simply because it's not just about knowing the 50 to 65. You actually are getting a lot of insight about how the cards were played, why they were chosen, what cards could be substituted, or maybe even what cards were being looked at to be the next replacements. But we have the tournament season kind of opening back up. We got more and more events that are starting to crop up in person. So I'm sure this will not be the last time you see Daryl with another blue deck on my channel, or maybe even another deck, because he did get his invite with Supreme Kai when it happened. Sure. So
yeah.
Just want to say thank you. Oh, sorry.
Oh, I was gonna say like, and I did like have the shop champs this past weekend, and I did well with a blue-black Haruta Gauntlet. So like, I'm always brewing. Like it never stops.
Definitely down. But yeah, I want to thank you for being on the channel again, dude. Thank you for holding out to put this deck profile out.
Yeah, I appreciate you inviting me on. Definitely to get, my decks and stuff out there. And like people always hit me up on Messenger asking me about my deck. So like, if anybody has questions or whatever, either put it in the comments on Chris' video once he posts it, or hit me up on Facebook and I got you.
Sweet. Alrighty then, I'll go into the closing, and just again, thanks for being on.
Yes, sir. Peace out.
So yeah, here in this channel, we definitely like to get into it. Daryl actually had a longer video than Amani, which normally doesn't happen with anybody that I put on the channel. So, Yes, yes, yes. Thank you guys for joining in. Thank you guys for watching. If you like the content, think about subscribing because we're only coming up with more with it. I think the next deck profile, we got a couple things in the works. I think I should have King Vegeta with a homie, but I also should have a much overdue Gogeta deck list in profile from my friend Get 'em. So I'm gonna put these up, and I'm just gonna keep going with the content. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next video.